Growing up, an important phrase was always, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. But then the internet came along and now it seems to have changed into, if you don't have the same opinion as everybody else, don't say anything at all. For fear of being criticised, cancelled, or even just generally shunned. And when the argument or topic is so overwhelmingly one-sided, it's hard to look in the opposite direction.
I'm standing over there with him.
The biggest musical example of this? Nickelback. So this is me throwing myself into the metaphorical lion pit, which is having a seemingly unpopular opinion on the internet. Are Nickelback a bad band? No, they're not. I've never thought that. Are they one of my favourite bands? No, but I do feel like they have written some great songs over the years, no doubt. Has their music had an impact or an influence on my guitar playing over the years? No, but that's okay. Sunny V2 made a really good video about why Nickelback gets so much hate, and it doesn't really seem to be to do with the band itself, more just the fact that people don't want to throw themselves under the bus and admit that they don't hate them. The most amazing and shocking point being that an editor of Rolling Stone magazine, one of the biggest musical publications, refused to publish an article about Nickelback that one of the Rolling Stone journalists wrote because it was positive. How crazy is that?
And he wrote a very, very detailed and well thought out review of the album, and it was positive. He took it to his editor, and his editor just said, I'm not going to print this, because we here at Rolling Stone are very anti-Nickelback.
And that refusal to push anything other than a negative opinion, a negative agenda about a certain band, that's got to be damaging, even if it's true or not. I think it's fair to say that these days there's probably a lot of people who hate Nickelback who have never even heard a full song, let alone an album, to actually pass judgment and create their own opinion. Purely just hating on them for the sake of hating on them because that's what the internet told them to do. This past week, Nickelback have just released their 10th studio album, I believe, called Get Rollin. So I've had it on in the car in the background driving to and from work this past week to sort of gather my thoughts and perspective on it. And you know what? I like it. I don't think it's their best album. That is a tie between For All the Right Reasons and Dark Horse. I think those are some pretty good albums, to be honest. But these days it really seems like a lot of bands are trying to evolve and change their sound, become more mainstream, appeal to a much bigger audience. And it might just be the record labels kind of pushing that onto the artists and bands writing these songs, saying that this is kind of what we need to do to adapt with the ever-changing music industry. And personally, I would really like to get everybody's opinion on this matter, because something that I've found with myself over the last few years is that I'm finding it increasingly difficult to enjoy any new music. Even from artists that I've liked for a very long time, if they put something new out, I struggle to enjoy it. And I really don't know why that is, or if I'm alone in that, whether it's just me or has new music just kind of gotten stale. It could potentially be that older music also has a lot of nostalgia tied to it for me. Some good times in my life, I relate certain bands and artists and songs to a specific time in my life which I really enjoyed, so it could be that. Or is it just the music? Let me know what you think in the comments. So before going into Get Rollin, I had a little bit of a checklist of things that I would personally want to hear from a new Nickelback album. Something nice and heavy to start off. Something slow and groovy. Something cheesy and a little bit lovey-dovey. And we can't forget some up-tempo, straight-up stadium rock.
Thank God you found me.
This album, Get Rollin, ticks all of those boxes. It's a perfectly packaged Nickelback album. I think that Kerrang! Magazine summed it up absolutely perfectly when they said that one of rock's biggest ever bands, Nickelback, serve up something for everyone on their addictive 10th album. And I completely agree. I don't like every song. There's some that I actually don't like on this album, but as a whole, pretty good. And if I'm being completely honest, it's just a massive breath of fresh air to hear a band still stick to their formula, stick to their sound, and stick to just making an album that they know that their fans or people who like that band want to hear. Especially a band that has received so much hate over the years, whether it's warranted or not. They've not tried to change to fit in with what the haters might actually want. If it is to do with their music, they've just stuck to what they wanted to do. I remember feeling exactly the same in 2020 when AC/DC released Power Up. I remember listening to the first 30-second teaser of Shot in the Dark that they released, the first bit of audio that they'd released in a very long time. And my first initial thoughts upon hearing that was, thank God. And I loved the album when it came out 2 years ago. Not because it was anything new, but because it wasn't. Myself and potentially other AC/DC fans just wanted some rock and roll, some catchy and cool guitar riffs, and also some great pentatonic lead guitar playing played only the way that Angus Young can, and that's exactly what we got. And I'm kind of getting the same feelings with this new Nickelback album, Get Rollin. Another aspect to the whole thing which I feel gets overlooked a lot is the production of Nickelback albums. Regardless of what you think about their music, whether you like it or not, as a musician, I've always felt like the quality, the production, the sound of their albums really spares no expense. The drums always sound huge. The acoustic guitars always sound so bright and chimey and nice, yet so resonant, and they can seemingly just take the simplest 4 power chord progression and make it sound absolutely massive. But I guess all the great production in the world can't easily change people's minds. And you know what, considering Chad Kroeger is almost 50, he's 48 now at the time of me making this video, his voice still sounds incredible. It's to be expected that if you're the vocalist of a band that has a career which spans many decades potentially, that at some point you're probably going to suffer some kind of vocal issue, whether it be hopefully not an injury, but it has happened in the past with certain vocalists, but it might just be fatigue and just general wear and tear over years and years of singing. Just a few years ago, John Mayer had to cancel a tour and go on a very long extended vocal rest because he developed vocal nodules. And even though that he's back touring, singing, writing and releasing new music, these days he seems to favour a more relaxed vocal style. Liam Gallagher, previously of Oasis, still going strong, still sounding great, but noticeably his voice these days doesn't sound the same as it did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, back when Oasis were in their prime back in the 90s and the early 2000s. It's not being negative to any of these artists, it's just general wear and tear. We all get older, we all age. And let's not even talk about Vince Neil from Motley Crue. So it's pretty awesome to hear that after all this time, Chad Kroeger's voice is still sounding solid. If I'm being completely honest, I'm pretty nervous to post this video, and I'm pretty nervous about what my comment section is going to be for reasons that I've already outlined just with the whole mention of Nickelback. I don't want that to kind of alienate people or sort of twist opinions or anything like that, but I am curious to know what you think as my audience. Leave me a comment, whether it's good or bad in terms of how you feel about Nickelback. Leave it in the comments. And you know, let's just see what the general vibe is these days. It's 2022, about to be 2023. Have things changed? Are things the same? Is the internet right? Is the internet wrong? Who knows? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please don't forget to leave it a like. Leave me a comment like I said. And if you're new to my channel, then please don't forget to subscribe. I make lots of music and guitar related content, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. So thanks for watching.